he just shouldn't be able to move the way he moves in the body that he has. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Welcome into the draft profile for Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. This dude is a special player, one of the best receivers in college football in the 2024 season. We're talking over 1,300 receiving yards on 84 receptions and 8 touchdowns, which was good for third in total receiving yards in college football last year. This dude was an absolute baller in college. He has a special combination of size and athleticism, right? That's what we're going to talk. And look, this is probably the best receiver in this class. This is probably the first receiver off the board. I want to give you kind of the full conversation. I'm going to give you a little bit of nuance, a couple points. We're going to talk about the skill chart. But before we get it, we got to break down who this dude is. This is a tall, lengthy wide receiver, and his skill set is contested catches. His catch radius is ridiculous. He is one of those guys. And look, that is kind of not a dime a dozen, but that is a skill set that you can find in college football, and is a skill set that a lot of NFL teams covet and find in the draft every year. Every single year, you'll see guys drafted anywhere from 1st to 7th round that kind of fits that mold of the tall, big catch radius, contested catch guys. Very, very rarely do you have guys that are that style that move the way McMillan does. It is a very, very special thing. The way he moves for the size that he is special. It is incredibly special, and that I don't think can be understated. That has to be kind of the foundation of how we talk about this dude. So let's go ahead, get into the skill chart. We'll kind of break it all down as far as how I see the player in a little bit more of a detailed way. Obviously, we have to start off with hands and contested catch. I already mentioned it. Hands at a 7.7, contested catch at a 7.5, elite catch radius, great hands. He had a couple drops, according to PFF, on the season, but not something I'm worried about. I love, and just to kind of get in a little bit of the nuance, and I'm holding the mic, so I can't do a great job of this, but I love how he really does react last second to the ball. That's a really good thing. He doesn't let his hands give away the positioning to the cornerbacks. I might be butchering the explanation, but that is a big thing in scouting. You want to see those hands kind of come up last second. He really attacks the ball in the air, and it is always very sudden. It's always very quick, and it's textbook. It really is. It's textbook. It's exactly how you would show a young wide receiver in middle school or high school how to attack the ball when it's in the air. It's exactly how he does it. He does it at an elite level. It's special, and it needs to be discussed in that conversation because it is. It's special. Moving on to athleticism at a 7.5. This is where we get into, okay, I won't say easy, but it is not uncommon to find guys with a special contested catch ability coming out of college, right? Happens all the time. We see guys like that come in the NFL. It's pretty, I mean, I don't want to discount that skill set because it is a special skill set, but the combination of that with the athleticism, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself from what I just said at the start of the show, he just shouldn't be able to move the way he moves in the body that he has. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I will say, the way my grades break down, and you can see it on the screen right now, explosiveness at a 5.3. While it is special for his size, he is not an incredibly sudden and explosive athlete as far as his change of direction. So if I look explosiveness at a 5.3, he's explosive enough at the wide receiver position. He is. That's a positive grade. That's fine. It's a tick down from all the other grades you're seeing around it because yeah, I mean, he's not he is not a jitterbug type of guy, right? Obviously. And then his only negative grade at 3.5, cuts, change of direction. This grade is primarily just kind of the explosiveness he has out of cuts. Super important to me. It's one of the bigger things that I look at wide receiver position, and that is not something that is really a big part of his game. He's a very smooth route runner. He's a very fluid route runner. He clearly has a ton of body control, which is another thing on my list. He has a 7 for body control, which is an elite grade for me. he has all of these things, and they're very, very important, but he is not just this sudden, explosive type of athlete. That's not who he is. It's not how he grades out. So I again, just trying to add a little bit of context for who he is. Again, this is not a negative for the player. It's just the style of player that he is.
This is what makes him so special. Watch the concentration.
Moving on to a couple other skills, and I'm not going to dive into everything on this skill chart, but I will try and just give a full picture of who the guy is as a whole. Yards after catch, he is very good with the ball in his hands. That should not be understated. Obviously, he's going to be utilized down the field, catching deep passes, being able to contort his body in wild ways to bring the ball down. I think we'll see plenty of highlight level catches at the next level, but it shouldn't be understated that he's still going to be able to be utilized in the short and intermediate part of the game, right? And I do think that part of his game, it might not be talked about as much as some of the other things, because the other things are legitimately elite, special qualities. But at a 6.2, that's not an elite grade, but it's still a really good grade. So I do want to give that a little bit of context there. And then last thing I do want to mention, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to hammer home the detail of his route running at a 6.5. Not an elite route runner by any means. I think the lack of suddenness out of your cut, or explosiveness, maybe I should say, out of your cut, lends it to where I just probably couldn't give it an elite grade, but that doesn't mean it's not really good. And the way he runs his route, especially his deep down the field route running, is very, very fun to watch. Like, very cool how he just manipulates the defender, and just like the technique that he has. You don't see a lot of college guys kind of implementing some of those higher levels techniques. Anyway, that's super in the weeds. I'm not trying to bore you guys, but as a route runner, the hallmark of his route running is it's smooth, it's concise, and it is very, very good. All right, guys, that is all I have on T-Mac. I do think this is a very, very special prospect. I think this is an elite prospect. I don't think I'm alone in that. I don't think I'm obviously breaking news by any means to say he's going to be the number one wide receiver off the board. We'll kind of quickly switch gears into his draft night and what I kind of expect from that perspective. Now, I will say, I've seen a lot of people say top 10, and for me, I hesitate a little bit. To me, I see him more kind of in that 10 to 20 range. Obviously, I'm splitting hairs. Like, if I'm saying you're a top 20 pick but not a top 10 pick, like that's a little bit arbitrary, and I understand that. But I'm just trying to say there are elements to his game that I do think people are going to hesitate to love, right? Like, he is a style of receiver. He is that big body contested catch wide receiver with just incredible movement skills that you just don't see in that type of guy very often, and that's why he's going to be talked about in the conversation that he deserves to be talked about, which is top 10, top 20. That's the conversation. I do think there is going to be elements of there's going to be somebody in the room. I think in every NFL scouting department, there's going to be at least somebody in the room that's saying, no, he's not going to be able to separate in the NFL. No, I don't know if we're going to be able to say, like, maybe it won't be he can't, and it'll be I'm not sure. All right, so maybe I should put it that way. I do think there will be questions about his just straight line explosiveness, his ability to I don't really have a question about his ability to separate down the field, but maybe his ability to create space and underneath routes could be a question mark. These are all the things that are just going to be question marks for the type of guy he is. He's a long strider, build-up speed type of guy, right? And I do think it would be interesting. Like, if I compared him to last year's class, he's not going to be ahead of Harrison Jr. He would probably be compared to Harrison Jr. more than the other guys. Neighbors would be, he's not going to be anywhere close to Neighbor. Like, those guys were in a special class. He's definitely not in that class as far as a draft prospect. Then you get into Odunze. I think Brian Thomas is another name. I don't know. I think it would be a debate among those guys, right? So Odunze was the ninth pick in the draft. I think Brian Thomas went 17th, if I'm not mistaken. So again, that feels more like the range as far as, like, if I'm looking at past classes, I compare him more with those guys. Elite perspective, or excuse me, elite traits, special stuff, but there's definitely question marks about his game for me. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe you just disagree with me. Maybe you completely agree with me, but still think he'll be top 10. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have a great feel for that yet, and it's February. It's super early. Nobody really has a great feel for that yet. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there's anybody you'd like me to do a draft profile on. Really helps the algorithm if you leave comments. So just let me know. What team do you want to see him on? Who's your favorite team that you want him to draft? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.